It wasn't entirely fruitless, no. Although he may have seemed displeased, the fact that we took the trouble to seek an audience with Agris should alimент his pride enough to offset any losses we have incurred by our visit. What we've lost is the discretion we once enjoyed. I do indeed have a reputation for preferring the company of humans, so to arrive with another dragon beside me certainly aroused suspicion. Oh no, treasure. I do not regret that you came with me. Your love and care for me were deeply felt. As you can see, I was more than capable of making the journey to and from the grove on my own. But you were so insistent. I'm all right. And you? You haven't flown so far since your travels to the lonely library. You still haven't told me everything that happened there. You wouldn't even speak to me when you came back. I see. I understand why you'd be angry, dearest. But as I've said before, I don't know why my heart's call chose you. I only know there is something truly special and unique about you. It wasn't a conscious decision. It came from a place beneath knowing, the same part of me that calls upon magic when I need it. That is what called you from miles away, and your heart answered. I don't know what it was you read or heard in that place that got you so irate, but I promise you, I did not pluck you out of the sea like... Yes, like a shell or some sea glass. I chose you. But in the same way, you chose me. I am learning, my love. I will not make the same mistakes again. I promise. No, I'm not in pain. Not like that. Now, who told you you were fated to be mine? Or did you read it? Brenwyn. Only by reputation, treasure. And I know her to be a charlatan and a thief. Oh yes, all the best bards are wonderful thieves, stealing and hoarding stories from foreign lands, and times long before theirs. Yes, quite a bit like a dragon. That would explain my weakness for singers and storytellers. Oh, you needn't look so dismissed, my darling. You will always be my one and only. I simply enjoy their diversions. Come, lay yourself down beside me. Rest your wings. Now, what story did Brenwyn tell you? Clearly it was about me, hmm? the entire history of my life. I heard she has a gift, this Brenowyn, but I can't imagine how one might whittle 1,000 years into a poem that could sustain anyone's interest. And you knew most of it already, the important things, didn't you? Brenowyn knew about that. How? That is more reasonable. Destiny, sorcery, words and wisdom taking advantage of the moment. And the book itself presented the words, you say. That moment, that time of my life, was not my best, I fear. Dragons are known for our inherent wisdom, it's true, but we are not especially adept at improvement. Most of us do not advance past a certain degree of... No, treasure, it is not for want of power. In fact, this is what I discovered so young that made me different from the others. Fire is so ingrained in our nature. We are such primordial beings that our proximity to the eternal flame lends us an almost limitless arcane power, if we understand how to access it. Oh, treasure, it isn't a lack of power that stops us. It's comfort, idleness. Why learn more when you already have the means to acquire everything you want? And for most of us, all we want is gold and shiny jewels. Oh no, you know me better than that. Gold lost its luster for me early in life. Magical knowledge became a much more intoxicating form of coin to amass. But even that wore off as I began to master it. And that was when I fell in love for the first time. With humanity, all of you. Oh, come now. I've told you everything about Fair Hollow. We were just there not 2 months ago. I even showed you where Oh, oh yes. Go on. Rub it in. Count yourself lucky your lover was standing by the first time you underwent transmogrification. Is there something else? Go on. I have no secrets from you, my darling. It's all right, treasure. You can ask me. Yes, it will pain me to talk of it again. I am not proud of what happened, of what I did. But if you want, I will. That. That is the story you want me to tell you. but you must have heard it 100 times. All humans know Alisteen and the Plums of Fate. Treasure, I do not deserve this kindness from you. I can confess to my past mistakes. Fine then. I shall tell you a story, and we shall both rest after a long journey. And we shall sort out the Numenoptera by the morning light. Now, Brennowin's version of the story of Alisteen has become quite popular, I understand. But it isn't true, you know. No. My grandfather met Alisteen, and I promise you, it goes like this. In days of old, when people still worshipped the great gods and dragons still yearned for the sea, there lived a young human of humble birth named Alisteen. Alisteen was as winsome as they were bright, and anyone could see that Alisteen was destined for more than their origins. Yet still, Alisteen was so pure of heart, they only dreamed of 3 simple things: to grow in knowledge, to fall in love, and to have a happy home. When the youth came of age, they put on a travelling cloak made of simple wool, and shoes of soft leather, and they strode off down the path of destiny. Not far along the path, Alisteen discovered an orchard, and resting in the shade of a plum tree, they gave thanks to the harvest god, and proceeded to gather 3 ripe fruits that appeared to have only just fallen to the ground. "Who dares take from my trees?" growled a voice from the thicket. "I beg your pardon, good sir. I only sought to take that which the trees had already abandoned." "I shall be on my way and trouble you no more," said Alisteen. "Too late. You have already troubled me, and you shall trouble yourself plenty before you're through," said the ogre, standing up taller than even the plum tree itself, eyes green and snake-like. Poor Alisteen could not discern whether it was plum wine or blood that dripped from the corners of the ogre's mouth. "Please, sir, I only wish to go. I shall find myself sustenance elsewhere." Alisteen made to leave, but the ogre waved a hand, and they found themselves frozen to the spot, feet sinking into the ground up to their knees. "You will not go without your plums." "I know better now. They are not my plums, but yours, sir," Alisteen pleaded. "Silence," hissed the ogre, and with a wave of his hand, the plums rose into the air and danced before Alisteen's eyes. One by one, the flesh of each fruit fell away, rotting into thin air until it revealed a diamond where the pit should be. Likewise, the diamonds danced before the youth, and then clung to the knuckles of their left hand. Molten gold poured out of the stone and formed a ring around 3 of Alisteen's fingers, burning the skin and hardening as it flowed. The young human made to pull the rings off with her other hand, but they would not budge. The gold continued to scald, even as it looked solid to the eye. Alisteen screamed and doubled over in pain. "Please, I beg you, how do I free my hand?" "Oh, you take 3 times you take, and now you ask for more. Make yourself 3 wishes on 3 stones, and your hand will be yours again." Alisteen thought of their 3 deepest desires and uttered the words, struggling through the pain. "Please, I wish for knowledge, for a home, and I wish for the greatest love. That is my wish." In a flash, the ogre was gone. The rings had fallen off of Alisteen's hand, and they were standing upon the ground as before, with 3 ripe plums at their feet. Thinking it had all been a dream, the youth gathered up the plums and proceeded along the path. Just around the bend where Alisteen expected to see the edge of the wood, there was instead a grand university with a library at its center. "We've been waiting for you, my liege," said the valet at the gate. They entered to discover that all of the servants and teachers answered to one name, Alisteen. It was, in fact, their university, theirs to enjoy and theirs to steward. Alisteen happily spent several years reading and learning, well fed and well cared for. The 3 plums Alisteen kept in a bell jar in their bedroom. They never changed, never attracted insects, and never spoiled. But they were afraid to put them out of sight, so they kept them nearby. One day, Alisteen awoke to see that one of the plums was gone, and instead a diamond ring had appeared on their left hand. At that very moment, Alisteen heard the crashing of broken glass. Gathering the remaining plums and running out of their bedchamber, they discovered a band of thieves taking the riches from the library and the university coffers and burning the rest. When they saw Alisteen, the thieves chased the youth, intending to beat them to death. But Alisteen escaped through the hedge maze and continued down the path of destiny. Bedraggled and defeated, Alisteen collapsed before a cottage in a clearing. From the front garden gate, a housekeeper emerged, fussing and clucking, and she dragged Alisteen into the cottage and into a bed. When Alisteen awoke, the housekeeper explained that she had been looking after the cottage until the owner should arrive, and that day had come. She disappeared into the forest, leaving Alisteen to explore the house. The cottage had many rooms, many more than one might expect for a house so small on the outside. It was not so grand as the university, but Alisteen thought it suited them much more, and they were happy to stay there. Alisteen sent word home to their family of where they were, and proceeded to make the house according to their liking. They took great care to clean the house and make it pleasant, picking flowers for the windowsills and tabletops, and opening the shutters to let the cool evening breeze in every night. A few days later, Alisteen's brother arrived. He had fallen on hard times himself, and begged Alisteen to give him a place to live. Alisteen, of course, obliged, saying there was plenty of room. The next morning, Alisteen awoke to a second diamond ring on their finger, and only 1 plum left in the jar. When the other brothers and sisters heard of Alisteen's good fortune, they too came to the cottage and asked to live in the house with their sibling. Before long, Alisteen was living in the root cellar to make way for their brothers, their sisters, and their many children. "Please, could you clean up just a bit?" asked Alisteen gently. But their siblings did not hear them over the din of conversation and crying children, and the eldest brother merely cried out, "Alisteen, I think the hinge is broken on the front door. Afraid the little ones were slamming it yesterday. When are you going to fix it?" Alisteen sighed. The pretty little cottage was no longer a welcome place, so they decided to take a walk down the path to clear their head. The path gradually changed from dirt to pine needles as Alisteen delved deeper into the wood. Eventually even the wind died, and the birds were silent as Alisteen stepped into a strange valley. There, in the center of a copse of trees, was a long stone plinth, and on the plinth a woman, frozen in a magical slumber. Alisteen gently approached and reached out to take her hand. As they touched, her eyes opened, and she spoke. "Are you here to rescue me?" she asked. Alisteen was dumbfounded. They were so taken by the beauty of the strange wood and the stillness of the scene, not to mention the lady who was now asking for answers. "I can rescue no one, my lady," said Alisteen. "I am a simple person with problems of my own, but I think I would like to enjoy your company. May I stay with you a while?" "I would like that very much," said the mysterious lady. "You may call me Canaris. I have been trapped here by an ogre and cannot leave." Alisteen was fascinated by her story and yearned to learn more. It seemed the young Princess Canaris had wandered away from a caravan and had her wishes twisted and tricked by the very same ogre. "I wanted all my dreams to come true, you see, and now I spend all of my days asleep, dreaming, and so my dreams are my reality, until today, when I dreamt of you, and here you are. But I think I am not asleep anymore." "No, you are not," said Alisteen. "Come with me, and we shall escape our curses together." But when the two reached the line of the trees, Canaris fell upon the ground onto a soft mass of pine needles. And so, every day, Alisteen would visit the copse of trees for a time, and bring the princess to life so she could be in the waking world. And the two fell in love. So that one day Alisteen asked, "Princess, I know it is far above my station, and I should not deign to ask one such as you, but I love you so dearly that I wish to be together forever. Would you be my wife?" "With all my heart I love you, dear Alisteen, and it would be my greatest honor to marry you. But we must end our curses first. Don't you agree?" asked the princess. "Yes, of course," said Alisteen, "but how?" "I had a dream last night, and my dreams tell the truth. I dreamt that you threw 3 plums into the darkness, and one by one your curses fell away. I can only believe that that is the key to our happiness." "Consider it done, my love," said Alisteen with a kiss, placing the princess gently upon her plinth. And then Alisteen set off for the ruins of the university. When they arrived at the gate, standing before what was once the great library, now a pile of burned and ragged tomes, the ogre appeared. "Was the knowledge not all you bargained for? You sought wisdom and gained destruction." Alisteen replied, "I still have all the learning I gathered while I was here. No one shall ever take that from me." And at that they ripped the first ring off their finger, and there, in their right hand, it became a simple plum once again. Alisteen threw it into the center of the ruins, and suddenly all the books, all the wood beams and bricks, every bit of broken glass, the entire university gathered itself up and imploded into the space of a single fruit, until there was nothing left there but Alisteen. Upon their hand only a single ring remained. Alisteen smiled and rushed home. By now the pretty little cottage was overgrown with weeds and had animals and unwashed small children running through it. Alisteen's brothers and sisters and their spouses shouted day and night at each other, at their children, and at the animals. Now, Alisteen still had great compassion for their family despite their behavior, and did not wish to see them harmed, and so Alisteen stood in the front garden and called out, "Brothers, sisters, children, please, you must leave the house. It is no longer a safe and happy place for any of us. Take your things and go." But no one seemed to have heard over the noise, except for Alisteen's eldest brother, who merely laughed and said, Alisteen, you fool, this is our house now. You move along and leave us be. Just then Alisteen noticed the housekeeper from years before hiding in the bushes as she transformed into the ogre and leered at the scene. With pity in their eyes, Alisteen took off the ring, which, just as the last one, turned back into a plum, and they tossed it gently through the front door. "I warned you," they said to their brother. The ground began to shake. Tiles fell from the roof. The walls of the cottage began to crack and split. Very quickly all the people inside ran out in various states of dress and undress, and the house caved in on itself, crumbling and crushing into a smaller and smaller ball of dust, until it occupied only the space of a single fruit, and there was nothing left but Alisteen and their bewildered family. "Well, what do we do now?" shouted Alisteen's eldest brother. "Now," said Alisteen, "you move on." A grumbling band of siblings and their children marched on down the path. Alisteen sighed and began to walk toward the copse of trees in the valley, exhausted by the day's efforts. "Home is waiting for me there," they whispered to themselves. But just as they took their first step, they noticed a new ring on their left hand. Alisteen ran. As they approached the plinth, the sun was setting and the moon was rising, shining upon their beloved princess. The ogre slipped through the trees. "And here we are, Plum Thief, enjoying your wishes." "What must I do to save her?" cried Alisteen. "You can't. You saw what happened to your library and your home. Only fools make wishes. That's why they all crumble to nothing. The fools and their wishes with them." Alisteen turned to leave, despairing and alone, but just as they did, their hand happened to brush against Canaris's arm, and the princess awoke. "My princess, I'm sorry. I failed you," said Alisteen, hanging their head. "All is lost. We have no hope of defeating the ogre." "But my love, you have only to destroy the last of the plums," said the princess, lifting Alisteen's hand to her lips, kissing it just alongside the ring. "You don't understand, Canaris. If I take off this ring, you'll die. I have ruined my university. I have ruined my home. I don't want to ruin you." The princess looked up at her beloved and glared at the cackling ogre standing in the trees. "You are not alone, and I will make this choice with you and for you. Will you let me?" For a moment, Alisteen clenched their fist, preventing the princess from removing the ring. But she pleaded desperately with her eyes, and Alisteen relented. Princess Canaris slid the ring off Alisteen's finger, and the gem transformed back into a plum. With one deft movement, with her dying breath, the princess hurled the fruit toward the ogre, who was drawn into the stone with the force of a dying star. Alisteen caught Canaris in their arms and fell to the ground, weeping for their lost love, their lost home, 3 wishes wasted. The youth carried the princess back to her plinth and placed her arms gently across her body. They cried so long into the evening that they fell asleep in the light of the moon. The next thing Alisteen heard was the voice of Princess Canaris. "You found me." "Canaris, you're alive," said Alisteen. "Yes, of course, here in my dreams." Alisteen's heart sank. "But my dreams are real, are they not? Wake up, my beloved Alisteen." And the Princess Canaris kissed Alisteen in the dream, until they were both awake and standing in the copse of pine trees, free to live and love, not on wishes, not on dreams, but on their true word. And that is how it ends. Treasure. Treasure, my love. Are you still awake? Good. I'll see you in my dreams, my dearest.